Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular open meeting of Town of Vesuvius Council on Monday, February 21st, 2011, at exactly 2 o'clock in council chambers. First piece of business today is adoption of minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting and regular open meeting of February 7th, 2011, and the public hearing of February 10th, 2011. Is there any discussion regarding these minutes? Hearing none, we'll adopt these minutes by consensus. So I'm your acting mayor today. My name is CJ Rhodes, for those of you who don't know, and I'd like to let you know that Mayor Wells is available today on the little circle in Councillor Chatsley's previous desk. He'll be joining us by speakerphone. Hello, Mayor Wells. So we have some business arising from the prior minutes. Next item is business arising from prior minutes, as I just said. And we have some water accounts for approval which were postponed from the January 17th, 2011 meeting. What are council's wishes? Second, Councillor Cromwell. And so is there any further discussion regarding that motion? Hearing none, let's do a vote. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. The water district accounts in the amount of $18,304.20 are approved. All right. So we have one late item. And that would be, we have an opportunity to look at hosting senior games. And we are going to move that over to business item 7. So that would now become I-7. Okay, and we also need a resolution to add. So, Councillor Cromwell, Councillor Chatsey, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right, so next matter is delegations, and we have Staff Sergeant Lozinski here today, and he's going to present the RCMP 2010 fourth quarter results. Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I believe I was supposed to be here last council meeting, and I apologize for not attending there. Almost didn't make this one either, so just to quickly go through our stats, some of the files of notes and some of the increases in calls for services had a slight increase in our robberies with weapon. Unfortunately, it goes up from none to 1, so I don't know if that's a real significant increase, but some people see these little red check marks and they want me to comment on those types of things. The bigger items, theft from vehicles, significantly has gone up. We've identified and we've targeted and arrested some of our, we call them our 5%ers, individuals that were responsible for many of these thefts. And as such, since those individuals have been custody, our thefts from vehicles have gone down significantly. So it certainly pays to do our homework and to target those individuals that we know are involved in these types of crimes. Same as our break and enters. They were up slightly this last quarter, but again, these individuals that I talked about were also involved in break and enters as well. So again, hopefully in 2011, we'll see a significant decrease in the number of these property crime offenses. Overall, our fourth quarter, our calls for service in our area, we took, the members investigated over 1,200 calls. It's slightly up, about 5% from the previous year, the same time, which was about 1,145 calls. However, for the year, noting the report, our calls for service overall has gone down about so that's good. And again, I attribute that a lot to addressing our prolific offenders and those that are doing most of the time. So, again, I refer to our 5%ers as those individuals, 5% of people doing 80% of the crime. So if we can target those individuals and get them off the streets, that'll show significant improvements in our calls for service. Drug enforcement. In Oliver, we had 7 drug cases during this period with a number of search warrants associated to those. In addition, in Osoyoos, we had 8 drug offenses. Again, these include drugs such as marijuana, cannabis, cocaine, morphine, and other types of drugs. This last little while, we've noticed a significant increase in the number of prescription medications being abused in our community. We've targeted some of those individuals. Some of those individuals have since left, been displaced from our community, which is a good thing. But the unfortunate thing with that is they just become a nuisance for some other community and have to address it. I actually presented to our local doctors on this topic and as well as others. And we are trying to work together to resolve some of these known addicts, people that abuse these systems and the drugs. Working with the doctors, we definitely have to just make sure that they're not prescribing, hundreds of pills at a time, when perhaps, 20 at a time. As an inconvenience to them, certainly will cut back on the chances, the opportunities to traffic drugs. Corporal Van Avery and Constable Minkley are still form part of our Rural General Investigation Unit. This month, actually, this week, myself and the OIC of Penticton are sitting down to identify the 3rd individual, so we're going to hopefully have that position filled so we can. It's always been a 3-man unit, just hadn't had a chance to fill that 3rd vacancy. So we're hoping for tremendous successes once we can get that 3rd person. And again, they're responsible for, for a lot of the street level drug enforcement in our communities, but they're also responsible for higher files, investigations throughout the region. So if something significant happens in Princeton, Karameas, Summerland, they have that ability to respond in this. But because they are stationed out of Oliver, of course, we get our better share of their workload, because if you place that you work at, you're going to have more vested interest and spend more time in these areas. So we've been very fortunate. Traffic safety is still another concern of ours that we're continuously identifying. This period in Oliver, 5 individuals were charged for impaired driving or other driving-related offenses. In addition, 10 others were given immediate roadside prohibitions, the 90 days, and 2 were given 72-hour suspension. In Osoyoos, 1 individual was charged for impaired driving, as well as others for the roadside prohibitions. So as you can see, impaired driving, even though we've moved to the roadside suspensions, there's still a significant problem, in my opinion, of people drinking and driving. If we're still getting, if I do my math correctly, 16 to 20 in a 4-month period or 3-month period, there's still a significant problem within the Oliver. Education itself needs to play more of a factor. We are doing our enforcement, and we have to just continue to do enforcement, unfortunately. Come to realize that it's not going to be accepted. Community engagements. A number of members are heavily involved in the communities. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit more. I really impress upon my members the importance of it. Many of us, including myself, are heavily involved in our service clubs, whether it's Rotary, Lions, Kiwanis. Families are taking in exchange students as part of the Rotary. Some of us are taking in some of the billets for the hockey teams. Many of us are buying the Coyotes. We're very impressed by this organization. They run a really tight ship, and we had a very successful banquet here just the other day, so very impressed by individuals that are turning. We're fortunate that a lot of our chronic and prolific nuisance offenders, we only have 1, and that individual has just recently has been dealt with by way of through the Mental Health Act. So hopefully we don't more issues. Crime Stoppers is still a significant partner for us. We continuously get tips. I'd like to see more and more tips through the communities. It's a very good way to stay anonymous. We've had 3 or 4 successes this last quarter, and we continue to get successes. And I really want to encourage, whether it's through the youth or the parents or adults, to continue to call us and use Crime Stoppers tips. Very successful for us in our organization. We will be sitting down next couple weeks with our partners in the regional area. Again, we're going to talk about our priorities for the upcoming year. We continuously want to develop our school liaisons. Every time I'm up here, I talk about that and the importance of dealing with the high school and the youth that we frequently come in contact with. A number of us, again, are involved with our local PACs, which is, I think, important to show that we're not only police officers, but we're also human beings and parents. Restorative justice is continuously to grow in Oliver. We are wanting to move that and transition that into the Osoyoos area as well. Shows here only a couple of files, but I know for a fact that's a little bit skewed. I think we've had at least 5 to 8 so far go through restorative justice in Oliver. Very successful program. Still continuously support that and behind that. And again, the Boys and Girls Clubs we're involved in. We have DARE programs that we're still supporting as best we can. And if you know at the bottom, I've done 2 during this period, 2 drug presentations, 1 to the doctors and 1 to the high school, and which was very well received. And that's about it. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but that is it in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Staff Sergeant Lozinski. Very informative as usual. Always look forward to having you here. I wanted to just ask a quick question about the Crime Stoppers, and they kind of have a low profile in our community, and I'm wondering if there's anything we can do to bump that profile up a little bit.
Well, obviously, myself presenting in this showcase, for lack of a better word, on Channel 8. I know there was a gentleman that came around just recently looking for donation, doing a pamphlet, and that has become successful through the businesses. But really, it is word of mouth. Really need to get that word of mouth out, and maybe some more posters and more media. And I can work with our local media people, perhaps support that a little bit more through the local paper.
Good. Any questions, rest of council? Mayor Wells?
No, fine by me.
Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, did you notice a significant increase in the tourism months, or did it remain relatively the same?
From the previous years, you mean, from 2009? Honestly, we saw a bit of a slower turn this summer. But it was hard to equate. Like I said, when I presented for that quarter, we had such a significant number of long-term injury to our officers that were really working. I think there was up to 6 members that were down at any one time during the summer. So that impacts your bottom line, because if you don't have enough members on the road, you become more of a reactive police force as opposed to being more reactive or proactive. And like I said, if we had more members on the road, then we could do more traffic stops, more drug interdictions, more impaired drive investigations. So we were down significantly. So the people that were reporting crimes were down. But I think that we probably, as a whole, probably could have done more proactive policing during that. But with resources, we can only do what we can do. But hopefully this year we're going in there healthy right now. Now that can change at any given time, like any organization. But if we have a full complement of members, and especially with this 3-man GI unit that's coming to fruition again, I see some great successes. And just because we have more call volume doesn't necessarily mean that that our community is getting worse or that people have to fear. It just means that we are taking that proactive step to identify those individuals and making sure those people are held accountable.
Councillor Crum-Miller.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Staff Sergeant, just one thing that comes to mind, given this time of year, and I think you answered, your resource levels are looking pretty good right now. When we come to summer months, it always seems to be that difficulties arise with transfers, et cetera, et cetera. Is there anything we can do to help as we look forward to this summer? And do you see that staffing level becoming a problem again this summer, or have we found ways to get around it?
Well, Well, we haven't really found ways to get around it. We do have the reserve program still that we rely heavily on. The problem is as summer moves on, the more files that you deal with. Last year it was all injuries. It was all injury-related duties, members getting hurt during the course of their actions, sprained arm or pulled muscles or something like that. So it's difficult. So we are moving ahead in good shape, but you're right. I think that one call with myself was that, 2 of us members went down at one call. So it can change significantly in a small detachment. We still don't have that pool of people to draw from. And of course, pregnancies and maternity leaves and paternity leaves impact us. Now, fortunately, we're not seeing that this year, but it could happen. But so we're, like I said, again, we don't have that pool of people to draw from. And then, of course, being the bigger center in the rural side, if Karamias or Princeton needs some support, well, we sometimes slide over there. So we're looking good, but I'll let you know next May, I guess, or April when I report again, and hopefully we're still looking.
Okay. Councillor Ryan?
Always a pleasure to have you come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no more further comments or anything? Good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
So moving on to our next item, be some water matters, and we have the district water accounts in the amount of $17,512.62 for approval. What? Seconder for that, Councillor Ryan. Any discussion towards that motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. The water district accounts in the amount of $17,512.62 are approved. Next item on the agenda is some correspondence, and first we have a report from the Okanagan Basin Water Board from their February 3rd, 2000, I'm assuming that's 11 meeting. And Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. This is a report received, as Councillor Rhodes mentioned. The board, some couple of highlights. Just the board welcomes some new directors and our mayor, Stu Wells, I think we mentioned previously, was reelected as the chair of the board. Rick Fairburn from the Regional District of North Okanagan as the vice chair, and 2 new board members were also welcomed: Doug Kirk from the Regional District of North Okanagan and Gwen Bridge from the Okanagan Nation Alliance. And 2 members that left the board were Yela, I'm not sure that's right, Kiss is the surname, and George Saddleman, people that were left the board. They've had new water management program is up for review. They have a web-based tool to track valley water use that launched on February the 4th. And they're looking to ask the province to allow more input on the revised Water Act. And there's also a letter to the federal government to urge protection of Canada's water needs. And this relates to the U.S. and Canada as we renew the operating orders and controlling levels on Osoyoos Lake. And it's up for renewal in 2013. So they're looking to get some advance on that. So I would move to receive this report for information.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Chatsey. Any discussion towards that motion with regard to the report?
Just a comment, if I may. That was a fairly bold step with the letter going to. Was that the letter to the Minister Day, Stockwell Day?
Yes, it was.
Yes. That one I really want the people of Osoyoos to pay attention to. This has to do with the new Boundary Treaty Act, which was expiring. Basically, we're talking about the Zozel Dam issue, and it would appear that we're moving from the establishment of the water levels in Osuyas Lake, we are moving from that into a possibility of flow, the volume going over the dam, which of course changes everything. That's a whole new world that we've never been in the past, and there's certainly going to be discussion about it. So as we get into possible drought conditions in the Okanagan, I think everybody should be aware that these are some of the parameters that are being looked at as we go forward on probably another 35-year treaty with the government of the United States of America.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Any other comments? All in favor? Mayor Wells?
Aye.
And that'll be carried. Our next item, Councillor Ryan's going to take us through a letter that we received from our Minister of Child and Family Development, Mary Polak.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Yes, the Minister has written to say that there are a number of awards that are being given out by her ministry to acknowledge the valuable contribution to early childhood educators and licensed family child care providers, the contribution that they make to the support of early learning and child care in British Columbia. And they've added 2 more categories to these to make a total of 4 awards. And the 2 new ones are to recognize individuals and organizational innovation and the important role of municipalities and regional districts play in developing and supporting child care initiatives in their communities. So they now have 4 awards, a general one for early childhood educators, a second one for Aboriginal child care educators of Aboriginal descent, and that are currently working in a licensed child care setting, and then the Innovation Award for an individual and a facility or organization demonstrating innovation in programming, and then a municipal or regional government to honor local or regional governments that demonstrate excellence in support of and involvement in the delivery of existing child care initiatives. So an opportunity for people in our community or in our region to be nominated and to be recognized for what they do. And so I would like to move that we refer this to our staff for them to investigate and to both publicize and identify any prospective recipients of these awards.
Okay, would that be a motion?
Yes.
And seconder for that, Councillor Chadsey. Any further discussion regarding that? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, I'm assuming, so that would be carried. So we're going to jump into our bylaws. The first bylaw for discussion will be official community plan amendment to bylaw 1230.09, and Director Cunningham will be heading that up.
Here today to ask Council support for second and third readings of 2 bylaw amendments. One of them is an OCP amendment. The other is a zoning bylaw amendment. The purpose of both these amendments is to reserve a fire hall site on 74th on the Richter property, which is owned by the town, and to clear the way for an application to the Agricultural Land Commission to take the said property out of the Agricultural Land Reserve. The OCP Amendment Bylaw would change the OCP land use designation of the subject property from agriculture to institutional. It would also allow for extending our urban growth boundary to take in that particular property. The zoning amendment would allow for a change from agriculture to public and private institution. Council will give first reading to these bylaw amendments on January 17th, and it should say 211 there, by the way, I think. And then went on February 10th of this year to a well-advertised public hearing. There was no letters received by staff. There was one person at the public hearing, and they were fully in support of the amendments.
Okay, thank you, Director Cunningham. What are Council's wishes? Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. I'll make a motion. The Council give bylaws 1230.09 and bylaw 1085.84 second and third reading.
I have a seconder for that. Councillor Cromwiller. Any further discussion regarding that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, be carried. Unanimous. Second bylaw that we're going to attend to today is our Climate Action Planning Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw 1230.11, 2011. And Director Cunningham, once again.
Yeah, we're here today to ask Council support for approving two climate action plans by resolution. One is a corporate climate action plan. The other one is a community one. And we also wish you to pass an amendment, or give first reading, I should say, to amendment to our OCP, Section 1414, to recognize both of these plans, and to also put in some enabling language which would allow staff to proceed with the necessary implementation of those plans. So a little bit of background. Since 2007, the province of BC has been moving quite aggressively forward with some climate action changes. They've set some quite ambitious targets for the whole province. And this will bring forth some real advantages to the province, some of which are reduced energy costs, reduced vulnerability to energy markets, reduced impacts to climate change, green economy, business and job opportunities, and more sustainable communities. The town of Osoyoos is making its contribution to these advances, and also meeting some of our statutory and political obligations for both the aforementioned types of plans. First of all, as a signatory to the 207 Climate Action Charter, Council is I hope tonight going to, this afternoon, adopt the corporate climate action plan, showing how it will become carbon neutral in its municipal operations by 2012, including taking actions to reduce GHG emissions and purchase carbon offsets to cover any shortfall. And also, as required in the Green Communities Amendment Act, Bill 27 of 2008, the Local Government Act, Council has adopted, or I hope will adopt, the Osoyoos Community Climate Action Plan, and this will include targets in our OCP for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and policies for the town to achieve those targets. So there's three policies under this Section 1414 of the OCP. The first one deals with reducing our corporate greenhouse gas emissions by 10% from 2009 levels by 2020. And there's a series of 10 initiatives which are laid out to achieve that. The second policy deals with reducing our community GHG emissions by 20% by 2020 and 30% by 2030. And there's 8 initiatives which are laid out for implementing that particular plan for the wider community. And then the last policy is an enabling policy, and it says advance corporate and community climate action plan initiatives by means of OCP and other bylaw amendments, regulations, and other council policy documents as appropriate, and by follow-up action.
Thank you, Director Cunningham. And what are Council's wishes with regard to this bylaw? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. I would like, I see that the staff recommendations have several things there, and perhaps I can begin by moving that Council adopt the Osoyoos Corporate Climate Action Plan 2011, as well as the Osoyoos Community Climate Action Plan 2011, both of which we have seen and had presentations on and examined in detail as the basis for our amendment.
Okay, thank you. And seconder for that, Councillor Cromiller. Any discussion with regard to that? Councillor Ryan.
Well, I'll just say that these will now become the foundation plans for our climate action activities, and they will be incorporated in sort of a summary form in the bylaw that we'll be proposing in just a moment. So we've already happily undertaken some of the things that are in here. We're in process. It's not a standstill situation, and but this gives us a plan for the future and goals to move toward.
Thank you. Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. When this was first brought to us, there was some confusion on my part that why did we need a corporate climate action plan and a community climate action plan. Both of these are requirements brought down from the province. The corporate climate action plan is our commitment to be carbon neutral in our operations in 2012 and beyond. And our commitment to report the greenhouse gas emissions. The community climate plan is what we put into our official community plan, how we're going to target our reductions. Both of these plans are very dry, very yawny, but very necessary. And they're both on our website. So if you've got some free time, just please go to the website and take one at a time, because they are very dry. But like I say, they are extremely necessary.
Thank you, Councillor Chatsey. Councillor Cromiller.
Well, I just had to comment after that. Councillor Chadsey's comments that don't read them before you go to bed. Or maybe you should. You want to go to sleep. But it is, I think that the biggest thing to me is that as we talk about the future and where we're going, and we look at our environments in all of those situations, this is one little thing that Osoyoos can do to contribute to improve our environment and to look to the future, that there's still an environment there for our families and our children in the future. And I commend the province for beginning a process, and that I'm really glad that we've reached this point, and I like to see what we can do in the future to improve things. So I certainly would endorse these plans.
Great comments. Mayor Wells.
No, just glad that we're getting this through the first readings here. This is definitely setting the map for where the community will be going. This will be part of our sustainability plans. We will be hearing about this for a while.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Unanimous. Councillor Ryan.
If I may, Acting Mayor Rhodes, I'd like to now move first reading of the OCP Amendment Bylaw 1230.11, 2011. That will be the change to our OCP to incorporate the provisions of the documents we've just approved.
Okay, second,
second.
Councillor Cromiller. Any discussion with regard to that motion? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you. I just say, to talk about dry things, there are some very practical things, of course, that each person can do, because this is basically, again, in our official community plan, saying this is where we're moving, and the kinds of things you can do, for example, is to make sure that you take to heart the anti-idling bylaw that council has passed some time ago. So, which means that when you go into a store or to a medical clinic or to a lab, or you stop, that you turn off your vehicle. You don't keep it running. That's your contribution personally to our climate action program. It means that when you aren't using some appliance like your computer, or you're going out of the room and you're not going to be back for an hour, you turn off the lights. Those are all very, very practical things that are the way that this gets implemented. If you're looking for a new vehicle, that you give serious consideration to a hybrid vehicle or to a vehicle with very low emissions. You buy Energy Star appliances when you're replacing some appliance. So those are the ways that this becomes a living, breathing kind of activity that each of us can participate in.
Thank you. Good, strong words and good advice with that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, be carried. And we also need a motion for the public hearing. Set the dates, or?
Not asking council to set a date for that right now, because as we discussed at COW this morning, we want to put some parallel OCP amendments through another matter, specifically the regional context statement for the regional growth strategy. So to save on both council and public time, we propose to twin both of those matters at public hearings on the same date. So when we've resolved the other matter and we're able to recommend a public hearing for that, we'll recommend the same date for this matter presently before you.
Okay, thank you. So next bylaw we're going to attend to is a revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw. And Mr. Zackel, Director of Finance.
Thank you. This bylaw is being brought forward to Council for renewing our operating line of credit with the Bank of Montreal. The bylaw does have one amendment to it. Thank you, Councillor Ryan, for pointing that out to me yesterday. And that's under the second paragraph of "and whereas," and what should be written is the total amount of liability that the council may incur is $6,164,940, being 75% of all taxes imposed for the purposes of 2010. So basically, this is just the wording that needs to change in that paragraph. This bylaw being brought forward is for a $1.5 million operating line of credit. It's not for the total $6 million that can be borrowed as per the Local Government Act. What this does is it bridges the time between when taxes are collected and our current operating year. I don't foresee utilizing this operating line of credit this year. However, to ensure that it's in place, I recommend forward with this, and recommending that Council give first three readings to the amended bylaw 128.
Yeah, thank you, Director Zackel. Always glad to hear that. We're not going to use it, qualification in that. So, and what are Council's wishes? Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that Council give first, second, and third reading to Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw number 1280, 2011.
Yeah, seconder for that, Councillor Crommiller. Any further discussion? Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. I just have a question. Have we ever had to use the line of credit?
Not in my 10 years of no.
Good to
But
hear.
it is something to stay in.
Yes.
The biggest, just to follow up with that, the biggest reason why we've been able to keep out of that operating line of credit is because of keeping a level of reserve funds intact.
Great news. Any other comments or questions? Or seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none of those, be carried. So we're going to jump right into the business section, leading off with the Sonora Community Center window tender.
Thank you very much, Council. Before you is a staff recommendation in terms of our tenders that we received for the Sonora Community Center as part of the Gas Tax Public Transit Management Services Agreement. We advertised the tender for the windows, and we received 12 proposals in total, ranging from $54,000 plus GST to $250,000 plus GST. After we reviewed all tender submissions, we were satisfied with two that did not actually include the 10% bid bond that we specified in the tender documents. The business that actually satisfied all groups and was the lowest bid was Centra Construction Group. They also supply a 5-year warranty on installation, and they have a limited lifetime warranty on the frame and sealed units. They are also triple glazed and manufactured in BC and are considered eco-smart windows. In terms of implications, this is part of the gas tax funding in terms of what we have, and it has to be completed by June 30th, 2011, which would satisfy our needs. And in terms of the budget, the funding, the grant funding that will recover or will cover this project in full. Since we have extra funds left over, we can replace other windows at the Sonora Community Center that weren't part of this project originally. In preparing the budget, we actually didn't include them all because we figured they would be over budget at that time. We can also discuss other projects where this funding can be allocated. In terms of our options, we recommend the Council award the Sonora Community Center window replacement to Centra Construction Group for the price of $63,890 plus HST. As option number 2, for Council to award the Sonora Community Center to another contractor who satisfied the tender requirements as advertised, or for Council not to award this project at this time. And staff is recommending that we go ahead with option number 1.
Okay, thank you, Director Davis. What are Council's wishes? Councilor Cromwell?
Thank you. I'll move option 1.
Okay, seconder for that. Councilor Ryan. Discussion. Mayor Wells.
Yeah, it's interesting when we look at the number 1 low bid. And you know, why would people go to all that work of getting the bid in there and don't have it complete? I'm puzzled by that. You know, why they wouldn't have included the bid bond in their application.
And Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. I'm curious how the bids can be $200,000 apart.
I actually looked at that too, and that was the only bid that high, and they followed everything as per the whole tender document.
Councilor Ryan.
Well, it's a good news tender, and I'd be happy to support it and see those windows, and you know, to get triple glazed in this day and age. I mean, this is state of the art windows that are going to be very very helpful again in achieving our targets for low carbon emissions, because they're keeping our heat in, they're keeping the cold out, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing the project completed.
Councilor Cromwell.
I'm good with it. I think it's just great. I do look at the discrepancies, but certainly, it's for what we talked about previously with our environment and also the environment of that building. It's going to be great to put some new windows in there instead of the old single pane ones that are there now.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, be carried. Moving on with business, we have our Community Development Manager, Mr. Jim Newman, and some information regarding Canada's Warmest Welcome. which is our official trademark.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Rhodes. Today we have a good news story with regards to our official trademark, Canada's warmest welcome. Back in 2010, the town of Osoyoos engaged Pusher Mitchell, lawyers and trademark agents, to facilitate trademarking Osoyoos, Canada's warmest welcome, through the Canadian Intellectual Properties Office, and received back on February 7th correspondence from Pusher Mitchell that the Registrar of Trademarks gave public notice that the adoption and use in Canada by the town of Osoyoos of the official mark, Osoyoos, Canada's warmest welcome, for wares and services. So that's a major milestone, I think, for the town, and recognizes Canada's trademark under Canada's Trademark Act with Canadian Intellectual Properties Office, an agent of the Canadian government. So with that said, that official mark, it's more than just a trademark. It's valid indefinitely, and so with most trademarks, you end up having to every 15 years revisit it and remark it. But as an official mark, we have this trademark indefinitely, and with one clause, and that is the clause that we do our due diligence with respect to regards to protecting the trademark against illegal infringements on that trademark, as well as when we have the opportunity to allow anyone else to use the trademark. They must enter into a license agreement with us and agree to the provisions for the control of the characters and quality of the trademark. So, with that said, I will work with Destination Osoyoos in marketing the brand through Canada and the world, and identify brand users and enter into a license agreement with them.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. First off, congratulations for surviving our rigorous probation period and becoming our first full-time employee of the year, I believe. So,
thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So now the matter of business. Any discussion, comments from council at all? I don't believe we're looking for any resolution at this point.
No, not at this time.
Yeah,
Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor Wells. No, it's wonderful to have this happen, and I just wonder if our projectionist here could take a close-up, Val, of what we've just done on the wall there. So that everybody sees it, and make sure that if they want to use it, that they ask Mr. Newman first and sign an agreement.
Thank you.
Mayor Wells.
Hello.
Hello.
I seem to be losing I'm not hearing as well as when I started. I don't know if there's batteries in that unit or not, but it seems to be going down and down and down. I'm having a harder time hearing the discussion. But this is great. This has been a long time coming. Also, lots of people involved in that, and it's going way back to the early days of Destination Osoyoos. So yeah, the trademarks, that's wonderful, and good work in getting it completed.
Great. Any further discussion? Okay, so we don't need a motion to receive or anything. Okay. We'll move on to our next business matter, and it's a pre-budget request. Once again, Director of Finance, Mr. Zackel.
Thank you. This pre-budget request is to deal with a replacing a fleet vehicle, a 1997 Chev half-ton pickup that was stolen from the Public Works Department in late 2010. This vehicle was never recovered, and ICBC has hence signed off with the town with respect to that. So Public Works is in need of replacement of the pickup truck for Public Works Department. With discussion from our administrative staff, it was determined that to try to keep to what we're trying to do with the climate action and trying to green our fleet wherever possible, we've determined that our rec director's pickup truck could be better utilized by Public Works, and placing the vehicle that we need, another hybrid model Prius for the rec director. We had contacted Toyota to find out if there was any deals or incentives with respect to those vehicles at the present time, and they had given us two prices for a 2010 model and a 2011 model. All warranties, coverages are exactly the same no matter what the was. However, the 2010 model was $2,700 change less expensive. Currently, the town of Osoyoos has two hybrid model vehicles in their fleet. Building inspector has one hybrid model car, fire chief hybrid model cab truck. When we were looking at the hybrid model trucks for Public Works, it just didn't make sense with spending that level of money at this present time towards that for that vehicle. And the best alternative was to find a downsized location. So for implications for it is one small step towards assisting with the climate action plan process for lowering our greenhouse gas targets. Organizationally, there is no organizational impacts with this, but from a budget perspective, this is going to cost $24,100 or $842.25 net of our HST rebate to purchase this vehicle. However, the fuel costs would be reduced because of the. So the two options that we've got is to approve the pre-budget request to purchase the 2010 hybrid model for $27,344, including HST, or the second option is to delay the purchasing hybrid. The only issue with the rationale why this was being brought forward earlier for council for pre-budget approval is the deadline date of 2000 was the February.
Great. Always glad that we can contribute in some small way, and what would council's wishes be with regard to this? Councillor Chatsey.
I'll make a motion that we approve the pre-budget request to purchase the 2010 Prius hybrid.
Seconder, Councillor Ryan. And any further discussion? Councillor Cromiller.
Thank you. I just have a question. What's our savings from going to a half-ton truck and buying a Prius instead? Is there a savings for us as well?
There's a long-term savings. When you look at basically the cost of the fuel, maintenance-wise, at some point in time, some of the replacement parts on the hybrid vehicle will cost more. But it's just, again, it's another avenue trying to reduce our greenhouse gas targets, but do it, I guess, as effectively as we could. The next step that we would have recommended if we didn't see replacing one of our fleet with another hybrid car would have been downsizing a half-ton pickup possibly to a lower, like a four-cylinder, smaller vehicle. Biggest issue is trying to determine and right-size our fleet, sure that we're getting the best value for our dollar and not driving around in expensive things.
Well, I was just curious about the purchase price.
From the purchase price, the $24,000 net, we're probably paying about $6,000 more for the purchase of this hybrid model over a half-ton pickup.
Hoping you would tell me different.
Mr. Zacco, what's our experience been with the existing Prius that we have? Has it been favorable, or?
That's why we recommend continuing Prius hybrid. The one that we do have has worked very well. A number of staff have used it to travel to functions outside of town. And very little, or actually no downtime with that vehicle. Been working.
Good, thanks. Any further discussion? Mayor Wells?
No.
And Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Rhodes. I was just curious as to what the ICBC payout was for our stolen vehicle. Do you have that information?
Yes, it was just a little over $5,000.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, be carried. And I think you get to stay up there, Mr. Zacco, with a report on our fire protection agreement, the Osoyoos Indian Band.
Thank you. This fire protection agreement is being brought forward to council now. At the last council meeting, staff was asking for some direction on wording for the Stelkaya development at the northeast side of Osoyoos Lake. Determine the cost for the one-time capital cost fee for fire protection. The Osoyoos Indian Band and the developer have agreed to that revised wording and have hence signed the agreement, and I do have the agreement in hand now with all of those amendments in place. This is a additional asset for the community. It's basically providing fire protection to the OIB lands on the Spirit Ridge property and for some properties at the northeast portion of Osoyoos Lake. However, the revenues that we will be receiving for fire protection are subsidizing the total cost of fire protection. Thus, town's cost of fire protection. The fire department has confirmed that these areas in question can be provided with fire protection. And from a budget standpoint, I've commented on that already. This agreement is for a 5-year period. We have had the fire protection agreement with the Osoyoos Indian Band. We continue to provide fire protection to the Indian Band. The only changes that we've got to this agreement is to add in the new areas at the northeast side of Osoyoos Lake and to add the one-time capital cost contribution of $1,000 for any new development.
Great. We could put that right squarely in the good news category. Always really happy to see us developing our relationship with the Osoyoos Indian Band, and this is just one more step forward in that area, fire protection aside. What are council's wishes? Councilor Ryan.
Yes, Councilor Rose, I'd like to move that the mayor and corporate administrative officer be authorized to sign the fire protection services agreement between the town of Osoyoos and the Osoyoos Indian Band that has been presented to us today.
Seconder for that, Councilor Chapsey. Any discussion? Councilor Crommiller.
What were the other? I see that D. So I really can't hear. I think I'm going to have to go after this item because it could be getting dangerous. I'm, almost sort of trying to fill in the lines here on the hearing aspect, and I would hate to do that. So, so Section D, that was the new Stelkaya development. Is that right?
That is correct.
And because we had said we wanted that one piece of money up front, that $50,000, and they've agreed to that.
That is correct.
Then, just for information's sake, sections C and E, what are we signing into with those?
Okay, Section E is the properties where we did the road exchange agreement on 45th Street.
Okay.
That's the Calcat and Metzler property. Or pardon me, that's the Calcat and Ferreira properties.
Calcat and the other ones that were in there yet.
That's correct, because once those properties transfer to Bandlands, they'd no longer be taxed for fire protection. So to ensure that we were recovering fire protection fees, we added these properties to the fire protection agreement.
Okay.
And for Schedule E, this was in consultation with the Oliver Fire Department and the town of Oliver, whereby there are a number of single-family dwellings on the northeast side of Osuyas Lake that are all Lokoti or Osuyas Indian Band members.
Okay.
And it was just to ensure that there was no confusion for who was going to provide fire protection.
Okay.
So with the town of Osuyas, or Osuyas Fire Department providing fire protection to the Stelkaya development, it made the most practical sense to have the Osuyas Fire Department provide fire protection to these single-family dwellings as well.
Okay.
There is a couple, there's a farm building and a pump house that are included in there with respect to one winery. And that's...
So it didn't end up as a gray area between fire departments or anything. There's very, very strong and firm lines of demarcation between who stops and who goes.
Yes, so basically what we're using for a rationale of fire protection is anything south of Road 22 would be provided by the Osuyas Fire Department, and anything north of Road 22 would be by the Oliver Fire Department.
What about on the back road up there by the, well, actually where the school used to be? Does that come from the Oliver side?
If I understand correctly, that's just as you cross the bridge past Quintel's property.
Yeah.
And then it turns into Black Sage Road.
Okay.
Anything on that south side of that road is town of Oliver, or Oliver Fire Department.
Okay, okay. Okay, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Crowmiller.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm the $50,000, and that was just confirmed, so I'm happy with that.
Great. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Wells. I think it's also good to point out that, it elaborates on what was responded to in terms of Mayor Wells' questions, that this has also it's enlarged the scope of the area that we're covering, and also we have revised the per unit costs as well for the dwellings and other buildings and sites, as I recall, that they're up to $1,000 per for any new buildings that are constructed.
That is correct. So any new construction, we have the one-time fire protection capital cost be built into there for any of those areas within Schedule A to the E. The Stelkaya property was just dealt with as a separate entity because it was a large development.
Good. Any further discussion? Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. The $50,000, which is the upfront money, and it will cover the first 50 units constructed there. If the developer never gets to 50 units, or is there a time frame, or do we have to give the balance of the dollars back? Has there been any arrangements for that?
The way the agreement is worded is the $50,000 paid up front. That's non-refundable.
Okay.
So basically it allows for the developer to build the first 50 units. If they don't build 50 units, it still costs them $50,000.
Okay.
And that was the rationale. That was the rationale why we wanted to ensure that the town did receive something for providing that fire protection there.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. That would be carried. You're still with us, Mayor Wells? Perhaps not. Next item of business is a report from Chief Administration Officer Mr. Romanko regarding the Northwest Sewer servicing policy.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Rhodes. At the December 6th closed meeting of Council, the Council passed a resolution directing staff to develop a policy to enable staff action on future requests for services from identified parcels of land that have subdivision potential within the Northwest Sewer Servicing Area. With a proper policy in place, this would allow staff to make an administrative decision to allow for the servicing of the properties. So we did take a look at the issue. Just as an overview, the regional district has identified that within the Northwest Sewer Service Area, there are 15 parcels of land that have the ability to be subdivided within their current zoning regulations to the number of 40 lots. So these subdivisions would be subject to the regional district development and zoning requirements, plus the current restrictions identified as ALR lands. So the attached policy identifies the rationale for providing the extraterritorial service. It also identifies the 15 parcels of property that have subdivision potential to 40 units. This policy would enable the administration to process an application without council approval for these specific parcels of land and to that number. The policy also allows directs staff that in the case of additional property, should they be identified outside these 40, that the applicant would have to come to council to get additional approval for those parcels. The costs of the sewer service are identified within the policy, and those are properties that abut the town of Vesuvius sewer collection system. The cost would be $23,790 per single family unit equivalent, and that single family equivalent unit is defined within the policy. That is the definition that we use within our other servicing agreements. And the rationale for providing for this type of definition is that we really don't know what is going to be developed in that particular area. So it provides us some broader scope to the definition. In terms of additional costs of sewer service, properties that do not abut to the town of Vesuvius sewer collection system, they'll be also charged the $23,790 per single family unit, plus the actual cost to upgrade the sewer collection system to offer the sewer services to the property by extending the sewer collection system to that property line. So basically that's enables the administration to make a decision on the 40 properties. The price has been identified. This price, in fact, was the actual cost per service that it was identified when we did the Northwest Sewer costing. So this policy is brought forward to council for approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Romanko. What are council's wishes? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Councillor Rhodes. I just say one more thing, and that is that I believe we all received a copy of the additional page of that policy. So it's a 3-page policy.
Yes, it's a 3-page policy. The copy that was that was sent out with the council package, the second page was missing, and in that second page identified the specific properties.
Good. Well, I would move then that we approve this policy as presented, since it does conform completely to the intentions of council as evidenced in the motion IC 196/10.
Thank you, Seconder. Councillor Chatsey. Any discussion towards that motion? Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. Mr. Remenko, I just have a question that in the actual policy we're quoting the amount of $23,790, and that is today's figure. But these lots are going to be developed over a long period of time, and the cost to provide the service is going to change as time goes on. So should we either not have that amount, or should it be a minimum of that? Should we make a statement that it will be at the current cost?
Well, the cost is the unit cost that's been identified with providing the service past their property line. So that's here and now. So those costs will not go up. The additional, it says if they do not, so the property owner is responsible for providing for the costs from property line onto their property.
Mm-hmm.
So the line is in place. The costs will be the costs for now and for the future.
But what about, like, I understand that this is all based on capacity. What we're doing is we're saying that we're putting in the Northwest Sewer System, and they're part of the grant dollars, but some of those lots have the ability to create up to 40 more lots. And we're saying that, yes, we have the capacity to provide them with sewer, but they're not part of the grant. And so their cost is the $23,790 because the line is already in. But is there any other additional cost? Is there additional cost for the maintenance of our system, or for to ensure that capacity?
Well, we wouldn't, as part of the process of determining whether or not we would provide service would be a capacity. We can't provide. And that's part of the policy as well, in terms of not jeopardizing the town's capacity. So the capacity charges and that are built into this particular. They're built into the cost.
Okay, thank you.
Director Zackel, you had a comment?
Thank you. I just wanted to add for Barry that the policy that's being recommended can be changed at any time by council as well. If, for example, 5 years from now, council wants to readdress the cost per service, absolutely, we can change that policy by council's resolution. But that's just basically, rather than establishing it as a rate to increase incrementally,
That's comforting news.
But any cost has got to be, it's not a profit cost. It has to be the actual cost that
Justified.
Yes, it's got to be justified, so it's not unlimited.
Any further discussion regarding that motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
You're still with us? Mayor Wells?
Yes?
You're still with us?
I am, but I'm going to leave. I really can't hear anything on here anymore.
Okay, that's too bad.
It is. Maybe we'll do a little technical check when I get back there, and just I tried trading phones here. There's a couple of them, and that didn't change anything. So I'm just wondering if there are batteries in that unit there, because it's faded down that I really didn't hear much of that last bit on the sewer, although I know what we're doing, and I agree with it.
Well, okay, if it's any comfort, we're hearing you loud and clear.
Oh, you're hearing me loud and clear. Well,
absolutely.
I guess, what can I say?
Okay, any opposed?
Okay, thanks a lot, and I'm going to sign out, and Ms. Van Vienen, could you log me out of the meeting, please? Thank you very much. All the best on the rest of the meeting. Looks pretty straightforward. Just give lots of money to the Water Science Forum.
Okay.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
Okay. Any opposed? Seeing none, that would be carried. Next item is another report from CAO, Mr. Remenko. Regarding that water science forum participation, and I guess we would choose to ignore the previous comments, but we're not biased in that area.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The Okanagan Water Basin and our Okanagan Basin Water Board and several stakeholders will be hosting a 2011 Osoyoos Water Science Forum in Osoyoos on September 18th to 20th. This event has taken place in Osoyoos before in 2007, and the town was a co-host of that particular event and took a major part in the overall organization and coordination of the efforts through Destination Osoyoos. The working group has again approached the town of Osoyoos to assist with the sponsoring of the particular event, and they do plan to hire a conference coordinator. However, in terms of their operations, they still need assistance in terms of being a recognized organization to receive monies and pay out monies to make the conference successful. So in that light, the organization has approached the town, or is approaching the town of Osoyoos to allow the finance department to set up a separate account to enable the organizing committee to take in monies from sponsoring agencies and also to pay bills on the operations of the conference. So as an organization, we have identified $5,000 already to make this event successful. So that's what we from the administration are looking for, is direction from council relative to enabling the Water Science Forum Steering Committee to use us as a financial institution.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko, and you provided a couple of options for us. What are council's wishes? Councillor Chatsey.
I will make a motion that that the town provide the assistance for the Osoyoos Water Science Forum.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Crommiller. Any comments regarding that? Councillor Crommiller.
Thank you. I just had one question, and I realized that the CAO provided this report, but I just wanted to ensure that the extra work that this may create is satisfactory to the town administrative staff.
Yes, they don't see this as a problem.
Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you. I also just wanted to know, are we giving them a $5,000 donation plus the in-kind work, or is the in-kind in the $5,000?
That hasn't been discussed. We in the budgeting process, that amount was identified. I think there's a very high economic development value to having this conference in the community. I think once they bring out their sponsorship kind of format, mm-hmm. we can take a look at it. We can bring that back to council if that's what council would like. Again, in the spirit of co-hosting, we're also looking at maybe doing some other things to help out the conference.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say that the public is welcome to this. And if you heard Mayor Wells earlier talking about the new agreement that's coming up in, I think, 2012, this is the opportunity for the public to give their feedback. So it's September 18th, I think, to 20th, right here in Osoyoos, and so just mark your calendars and please attend.
Great. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Rhodes. I have two questions. The first is, to Mr. Romenko, the motion was not quite what you had asked for, and I'm just wondering if you're concerned that we didn't put a condition on there that no deficit budget be accrued by the town.
No, I felt comfortable with it. I can't, from an administrative perspective, we wouldn't allow them to do that. And I think that's something we can pass on to them.
Okay. And the second question I had is that in terms of the and I don't know if this is available now, particularly since the mayor isn't on the line, but the Water Board newsletter stated that the International Joint Commission was going to have some kind of consultation in September in Asuyas, and it seemed to coincide with the same dates that we were having our water conference. And I'm just wondering, is that going to be a part of it? Do we know that yet, or?
I haven't been a part of the program development, so it's something we have to ask the mayor, I guess.
All right. And it also coincides with one of our meetings, council. So I don't know whether we're going to be able to handle all those things simultaneously. But I guess we'll see as we get closer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Be carried. The next item on the agenda under business would be our late item, and we have a verbal report from Councillor Chadsey on an opportunity with the BC Senior Games.
Thank you. The town received a letter from the BC Senior Games Society inviting the town of Asuyas to host the BC Senior Games in either 2013 or 2014. We have the opportunity to bid on both, but only one of those dates will be awarded. In 2009, in Richmond, there were 3,900 participants in 29 sports. And so this letter has just been arrived. Has just been received, and we have until June the 30th to make application for the Senior Games. So I would like to, I guess by motion, make a motion that the town ask the Director of Recreation and Leisure Services to prepare a preliminary report on the feasibility of holding the BC Senior Games. And that motion might be to ask the CAO to do whatever he needs to do to get a preliminary report.
Okay, are we okay with that?
Yes.
And have a seconder for that? Councillor Cronmiller. Any further discussion? Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly an opportunity for a community like ours to be able to host something like this is incredible. And I wasn't here in '95, which apparently was the last time we did have it here. And it's really great to have the opportunity to come back to us. And I think that the South Okanagan as a tourist resort community has a lot to offer, and I would welcome the opportunity to see this to fruition.
Good words, Councillor Ryan.
No, I'm totally in favor of that. I think it would be wonderful if we could host them, and so I'm anxiously looking forward to that report.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. So one of the new items that we've introduced onto our agenda in the last little while is a privilege for individual councillors to provide a notice of motion, and we have one put forth by Councillor Ryan.
So thank you, Deputy Mayor Rhodes. I will say that council and administration do have an email with a revised copy of this notice of motion. And it's very short, so I will read it in due course. But I'd just like to say that I've made this change to through some new information that I received. But let me make the motion, and then I'd like to speak to it, please, if it's seconded. The motion is that staff prepare a report on all the materials used for turf growth and weed control on public properties within the town of Osoyoos, that the report enumerate the names and types of such materials, the frequency of use, and usual rate of application, and that this report be provided to the March 21st council meeting.
Just getting a note here in terms of process, in that when the notice of motion is in fact that you're doing a notice of motion for the next meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That you will be making this motion.
That's right.
So it doesn't need a seconder.
Oh, of course. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that's right. So I'll be presenting a report for our next meeting.
That's right.
On March 7th.
That's right.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that reminder. Okay, so I don't have to speak. No, I don't have to speak to it anymore. I just letting people know. So it is different from what you saw, and it is there, and you have an email, and if you don't, I'll give you one after. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll need a piece of advice. No resolution necessary.
No resolution necessary. Just a notice of motion.
Okay, moving right along to our reports section, and I guess we get to pay some bills, and those would be our. Bear with me for a minute here and catch up. Okay, so those cash requirements would be general funding for $183,360.94 to pay some bills at the Sun Bowl Arena, totaling $6,207.18, and to receive information for payroll totaling $59,764.76. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will adopt that by consensus. Right. And following on with our report section, second item would be our CAO report. Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So just in terms of some of the work that's being carried on within the town, starting in our community development area, the community development manager is working with the business community and Destination Osoyoos on initiating a water festival celebration for 2012. So a new initiative in that area. Also, the integrated community sustainability plan. Descriptions of success. There was a meeting with the local action committee, and some members of council will probably report on that. But our manager was involved in that, and also that he's been working with regional district area person Mark Pendergraft on the seasonal workers camp, trying to see if we can initiate something for this coming year. In the area of corporate services. Work has commenced on the 2010 Town of Osoyoos annual report, and also they're looking at our whole web streaming operation to ensure that we are getting all our benefits from Granicus to ensure our viewers are getting good reception. In terms of finance, our finance manager has been, or director has been busy working on some bylaws, including the waste management amendment, water user fees, water district user fees, sewer user fees, and the 5-year financial plan. He's also been working on the fire protection agreement and the execution of Phase 2 Northwest Sewer contracts, and year-end as well, which is keeping him busy. The planning and development area, They had their 4th meeting of the Lake Recreation and Commercial Use Task Force on February 10th. And also they're having a first meeting of the Town and Area A Agricultural Plan, and will be was held as well. In Public Works, they've been busy fixing a few leaks in various areas. They've also been getting a jump on some spring work with our lack of snow here. And also, if you traveled out to Jack Pine Lane, you'll see some new signs that have been installed. And we're just waiting for some funding, a funding application relative to the calming of the traffic in the area, which will be the 2nd phase. Recreation, council dealt with the window tenders that had to be reviewed, and also all the documents are in circulation for the bus quotations, and that will close on March 11th. And they will be hosting some workshops outside the kind of traditional recreation area, an invasive weed control workshop on April 27th, and a composting workshop on May 18th at the Sonora Center. And in terms of the CAO, work continues on inputting towards the organizational review. I'll be doing a presentation to staff on the staff satisfaction survey on Friday, and meeting with highways representatives this last week, and also reviewing a new business plan for the museum that was presented to us. And also I had the opportunity to get an update from tourism on the operations of the visitor center. So that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Councillor Ryan.
Oh, thank you, Deputy Mayor Rhodes. I, last Friday, attended the opening of the South Okanagan office of the South Okanagan Immigrant Services in Oliver. This is a group that we have been in touch with over the past couple of years and participated in some of their events. They had a very wonderful workshop here about a year ago at in Kamip about welcoming, how welcoming a community we were and how we could be a more welcoming community. And this was attended by a number of people from around the region, including the town of Vesuvius. And so I was happy to represent the council and the people of Vesuvius there, and to congratulate them on bringing this service further into the South Okanagan. They have their headquarters in Penticton, and so this is an outside of Penticton office that can serve both Oliver and Vesuvius. So I'm sure that they'll be doing more promotion here, but they offer a whole variety of what are called settlement services for new arrivals, both language training, job training, and just general orientation to life in Canada and the South Okanagan. I'd also like to offer congratulations, as some of my fellow councillors did last meeting. And first of all, I'd like to congratulate our Vesuvius Medical Laboratory for putting up their "Do Not Idle" signs on their doors and windows. When you drive up, you just can't go in the building without seeing several of these "Don't Idle" signs, and it's an ideal place to put them because I've certainly observed at their old location that was often a favorite place to sit in the truck or the car and have the motor running. So they seem to be helping to raise people's consciousness. And secondly, I'd like to congratulate our BC Liquor Store. They pointed out to me when I went in the last time, and I was returning bottles, not buying things, that they are now accepting not only cans and bottles, but they're also accepting plastic bags. And they don't even have to be their own plastic bags. They can be any plastic bags that you want to recycle. So congratulations to them, and I reminded them that these notices right on the door as you come in are always a good reminder for people. So and they do have posters, and so good for them. And speaking of recycling plastic bags, of course, you can also put them into reuse by giving them to, I know our dollar store on Main Street welcomes good, clean, and bags with only one hole in them at the top, to use for their own merchandise. So you can both reuse and recycle it. I attended the grand opening of the renovated Shoppers, and I was very happy there to see that the first 1,000 people, and I hope they got 1,000, but I don't know if they did, got a reusable bag. So there are plenty of reusable bags in circulation in Esuya. So if we see single-use plastic bags around, I think we should be surprised. And I just want to say lastly that while I was away over the Christmas holidays, I happened to see something in the newspaper that was talking about the fairly significant reduction in plastic bag use in Canada, which is seemed to be a combination of people's consciousness growing about how these are destructive little items, as well as the either the rebate or the price that is sometimes charged for them in the stores. So I know that if Deputy Mayor Wells was, or Deputy Mayor Rhodes was doing this, he would have all the facts and figures, and I don't remember the specific facts, but there has been a reduction, and I think that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Cromwiller.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Rhodes. Just a few things I wanted to report on. Last Wednesday, I believe, Councillor Rhodes, Staff Sergeant Lozinski, and myself attended, and our CAO, Mr. Romanko, attended a meeting with Jeff Wiseman from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. And Mr. Wiseman had initiated this meeting and this committee to bring some conversation to us about our two major highways and how they interact with our community, and some sorts of things that we can do to provide a better and safer environment for road traffic and pedestrians. And the main thing was pedestrian crosswalks that we talked about. We also had the crosswalk traffic engineer attend from Kamloops. He attended and spoke with us about the engineering that goes behind crosswalks and where they are and whatnot. So certainly a good meeting, and got us started in I think a very positive direction to look at the crosswalks that we have along our two main highway corridors, and to look at whether they're good or bad, and whether some should be moved or better identified, or any of those things. So we'll be continuing to work on that, and the ministry will be bringing back a report to us in the very near future. The Soyuz Lake Task Force, we also met a couple of weeks ago, and we're working through issues on Acacia Court below Jasmine. I think we've reached a consensus there, and we'll be adding that to our report as we get through everything, all the issues on the lake. And also our planning department came to us with new swimming buoys that they've identified that we'll be placing in the lake this summer to give a better look to our swimming areas and make them more identifiable to boating public and to all public people for better information and of the location, and also for better enforcement, so that it'll be a safe areas to swim for everybody that enjoys our lake. And last but not least, subject near and dear to me, but certainly can't say this year I've been the best supporter, but I have followed them in the paper religiously, and I'm well aware of what they've been doing. So my congratulations go out to one of the better things that's come out to Soyuz, I think, in this year, to Mr. John Capusti, Roy Schultz, and Randy Bedard, the managers, and the coach, Ken Law, and the team, the Soyuz Coyotes, for their performance both on and off the ice in our community this year. It was really a tremendous addition, and I think that when we can get 350 to 400 fans to every hockey game, they've accomplished the goals that we would see that we expect in our community, and certainly they've done a great job being the #1 team in the league and finishing the first round of playoffs, and we look forward to the next one. And I have been to a playoff game or two, so I'm improving, and I'll be tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crommiller. Councillor Chatsey.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Rhodes. I just want to say, I have a few things to say. We're working on our volunteer appreciation, which will take place in April, and there is more to come on that. Yesterday, the local Lions Club sponsored a jam session at Sonora Center from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. And I think that we expected maybe about 60 people, but just to be sure, we put, I think, 100 chairs out. What we got were just shy of 200 people. A phenomenal mix of musicians and music lovers, and some dancers. There were people up dancing. They came from Kelowna, they came from Orville, they came from Penticton, they came from Carameus, Headley, Oliver, as well as locally, and the snowbirds that showed up. It was just a great success. So really, first of all, thank you to the musicians, thank you to the Lions Club, and once again, thank you to Sonora Center for making the process of obtaining the space and booking it so simple. You know, like, I was born and raised in the coast, and it never ceases to amaze me how uncomplicated it is, certainly in this town, when you need to access public facilities. It is absolutely amazing, and I just want to say thank you. I did also attend the Jake Peters concert on Friday night, and our own Cindy Doucette sang there, and she was just as wonderful as she always is. It was a food bank promotion, and hundreds of dollars were collected, as well as lots of food was donated. And the only sidebar was that most of us, myself included, brought the cans in a plastic bag because I didn't want to give up one of my reusables. So, you know, that's step 2, I guess. The other thing that I'm going to start bringing up, because the sun is shining and it's this time of year, is my annual dog poop problem. Please, if you open the door and let your dog out, please assume that it's going to go somewhere where it shouldn't. We're not concerned about dogs on leash for the most part. People are wonderful taking care of that. But please remember, these are public sidewalks, public roads, other people's property and lawns, and nobody wants to see dog poop on it. So please, please care for your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chatsey. So I'm not going to report on much tonight. I did have a pretty good rant going until I found out that Mayor Wells is not going to be here, and I had to spend a bit of time studying up for today. And one thing I did want to mention, Councillor Ryan and myself will probably never give up on one-time use plastic bags and the harmful effects that it has on our environment. And that was going to be a little bit part of my reporting tonight. I did want to mention you know, as you go through recognition periods in our environment and the things that affect us and that kind of thing, the one-time use plastic bag is a very controversial issue everywhere, not just in our area but all over the world. And I'd really like to draw attention to the fact that our neighbors to the south in the state of Washington are in the final stages of an outright ban of one-time plastic use bags, not individually in communities, but statewide, and it's statewide legislation that's taking the lead on it. And apparently they can do that in the United States, but they're going to have what they call a border ban on them. so that they're not even allowed to import into the state. Much similar to the situation in the state of California with styrofoam products right now, where they can actually put up a border control and stop those products. So I wanted to draw attention to that. Very easily followed. We have all of the networks, and it's not major news, but it's on periodically and very, very informative and good for them. And to Councillor Chadsey, anytime you want multi-use bags, I have at least 200 to 300 of them in the backseat of my truck, and be happy to pass on them at any time. And we will not have a mayor's report tonight due to his absence. So, looking for an adjournment. Councillor Ryan, seconder. Councillor Chadsey, all in favor? Opposed? Being none, we are adjourned.